Hi. Hi, beautiful screenwriter. How are you today? I hope you're doing amazing. I wanted to check in with you guys to talk about something that might be a little controversial. In fact, I suspect it's going to be pretty controversial, and some of you might be horrified by what I'm going to say. So I'm just like giving you a little warning up front. You may not agree with what I'm about to tell you, and it may even freak you out because I'm going to perhaps talk about some of the sacred cows of the screenwriting world. So, trigger warning, all right? If you are not up for controversial stuff, switch it off now. Here goes. In the screenwriting world, I think far too many screenwriters get sucked into I'm just going to call it the Sid Field, Robert McKee, Save the Cat vortex, and they never come out. And they certainly never write a good screenplay. Now, what am I talking about? If you're a screenwriter, you will have come across the work of these people, Sid Field, Robert McKee, Save the Cat. There are others. There are other sacred cows. And people get very obsessed with these systems and these ways of writing screenplays and how you have to do it correctly. Now, the problem with this is I think so many people who actually try to really follow these systems or these formulas is that they might manage to finish their script, but the script is really going to be pretty mediocre at best 9 times out of 10. Absolutely. They're ticking all the boxes, right? They've got their beat on this page and that happens there and everything is going according to plan. You're doing everything you're supposed to, but you know what? The script is boring AF, right? I'm just going to say it because it's formulaic. And we've all sat in those movies too and watched them and we're like, oh, you know exactly what's going to happen next because this beat follows that and then this happens and then that. And it's just dull. There's no life to it. And, you know, as I say, you get an A+ for following the plan, but, you know, an F actually for grabbing my heart. And that's what really ultimately movies are about, grabbing our hearts one way or another. Now, this is even if people actually finish the script, because actually I have come across many, many screenwriters who get lost in trying to fulfill the rules and they don't even finish their script because they get so discouraged. It's like they're trying to follow a very complicated recipe and it's just not working. Like their ingredients, the ingredients they have in their kitchen just don't fit in that recipe and they're trying to make it work and they're trying to do it and they're trying so hard to do it properly and to do it well. And the joy goes out of it completely and they feel like some sort of failure because it's not working even though they're doing what they're meant to do. And, you know, I understand how this comes about because it's that feeling again that there's some sort of formula. Like these books are very good at convincing you this is the way, right? And if you don't follow this, you're not going to have a good script, right? And you really have to like pay attention here, you know, be a good student and do all the things. And so it's easy to be intimidated by that, especially when we're just starting out and we don't know any better. So we're like, okay, I better follow the rules and do what I'm supposed to do. And this makes sense. And it's great that there are these rules. And if I just follow them, I'm going to write something good. But now it's not working and I'm not enjoying this. And maybe I'm just crap. And maybe the problem's me because obviously it's a good system. I'll tell you this is a funny aside story. Recently, it was so sweet. My mom said that she had a recipe for a cake that she said, I recently made a birthday cake and it turned out really good. And I was like, oh, well, that's great. She said, yeah, I used a new recipe. And I was like, that's awesome. And she said, yeah, before that, I used the same recipe for like 20 years and they just never really worked out that well. And I was like, Mom, why did you keep using the same recipe? And she was like, well, it was from the source that it had to be a good recipe. You know, there was something wrong with how I was doing it, you know? And I'm kind of like, wow, it took her 20 years to have the courage just to break away from the trusted source and trust her own experience instead and go, well, this recipe just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It might be from some fancy name and maybe it's like the recipe, but if it doesn't work for you, it's not right. And it's the same thing when you're going into your screenwriting. You know, there is no recipe except the one that's in your own heart. And I'm going to tell you a secret about storytelling that I think like the story structure gurus, don't want you to know. But the truth about storytelling is story isn't complicated. I really believe actually that story is in your DNA. Since you were a baby, you have heard and consumed probably millions of stories. Millions. And before that, like your ancestors have been telling stories for generations after generations, for millennia, right? Thousands of years. Since the beginning of the human being, that's what we have done. We've gathered around fires to tell stories. Storytelling is part of who we are. Now, I just think like what you have to do is trust that you know your story, and then also trust that you know the best way to tell it, and do it, tell it, and then practice the telling of it. If you've ever practiced like telling a story to somebody, like a verbal story, you'll do it once and you'll go, oh, I didn't get that bit really good, and you try it again and you get better at it. And that's like the different drafts of your screenplay. You get it down and then you work on it and you make it better and you keep making it better until the story is the best thing that it can be. So yeah, of course you have to arm yourself with like basic knowledge, right? You need to know formatting. You need to know like basic ideas about structure, how many pages you're going for, style, all those things. It's very important. It is a craft, screenwriting, right? It is a craft and you need to know the craft. But, you don't need a bunch of rules and someone's rigid formula. You really, really don't, right? You know your story. Your story is in your heart. There's a reason that you are being called to tell a certain story. It's in your heart and it's just your job to do the work to bring it out and to give birth to it. So besides from the craft, it really helps if you have a supportive community, definitely. So people that can read your work and give you feedback, people that can cheer you on as you're going so that you stay the course and actually finish the screenplay. It's also super helpful to have a structure in terms of how you're going to write it, the plan for the actual writing. I don't really trust in just sort of like, oh, I'm just going to write this and I'll finish it when I finish it. For me, that's how I ended up taking 3 years to write my first screenplay because there was no structure. So I really encourage you also to figure out a structure for yourself. What are your deadlines? What are your goals? What are your writing goals for each week? When do you plan to finish the screenplay by? So that you actually get it done and then hold yourself accountable to that. But the main thing is, you will learn 1,000 times more about screenwriting by actually writing a screenplay than by reading the books of theory about it. Okay? Like the idea that you will learn about how to write a great screenplay by reading books after books after books about screenplay writing is just absurd. The way that you will learn how to write a good screenplay is by getting one down on the page, fixing it, working on it until it's really good, doing it again, writing another one. That's how you get good at screenwriting, not by like figuring out like how to follow someone else's formula so that you hit all the beats and you push your story into this format that somebody else has prescribed. Now, I hope you're not feeling discouraged. Perhaps you're somebody that has been following those books. And like, I'm not here to say that they have no value. That's not true at all. They have a great value. I know when I started wanting to write screenplay myself, the first book I read was Sid Field's Screenplay, and it was hugely valuable and helpful to me. It gave me, the basic fundamentals that I needed to get started. But my thing would be this. Once you've read the book, treat the book like a ladder. Treat all those books like ladders, right? You climb up them so that you can get through a window. And once you're through the window, throw the ladder away. Have faith. Don't keep looking back at them. Don't be trying to fit all their prescribed ideas of what a screenplay should be. The best screenplays, they're just stories that are alive, that touch our hearts. And you don't get through that through formula. You get that through trusting the story that is in your heart, getting it down on the page and working on it until it's like fully, fully, fully realized. So do the work. Don't read the books. Just do the work. All right, you guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. I love to hear from you. Check out my webpage, dianebell.com, and reach out to me through that. Or else hit me up on Instagram. I'm there every day at Diane Bell. I love Instagram. That's my favorite. So reach out to me. Also, you might be listening to this on my podcast. Fantastic. Otherwise, if you're watching this on YouTube, check out my podcast. It's called Shoot from the Heart. You will get weekly doses of inspiration and information to help you along your path as a screenwriter or as a filmmaker, or just as a creative human being, as somebody who wants to live a full and abundant creative life, because that's what I'm all about. I hope you're having an awesome day. Thanks for joining me. Bye.